Conducting a community assessment. Community-based planning can be used for any project or program that works to improve a community. Many funding agencies believe that involving members in community planning and development leads to lasting and positive change and is a key factor in designing and implementing a successful project. This training will introduce you to building your knowledge and skills to engage the community in the community development and project planning processes. The planning and development process should occur well before you write your application or submit it for funding. In fact, a best practice is to have a significant amount of the planning done before it's time to write the proposal. Let's go over the importance of a community-led approach. First, the community input usually provides the direction of the long-term community goal and demonstrates the community's priorities in the direction of the project. Second, getting community buy-in is an integral part of the ultimate success of your project. If the community's input is used to design the project, they will most likely support the project by participating in activities. And third, community input doesn't end at the design phase of the project. You can build a communication plan into the project to ensure continued communication. A communication plan involves regular updates using the best communication tools in your community, such as social media, websites, newsletters, newspapers, etc. This keeps the community updated on the progress of your project during the implementation and provides transparency. Before we get into the methods on how to engage the community, it is important to review how to define your community. Many people that are new to A&A don't realize that you get to determine the community for the project, and it doesn't have to be the entire community. There will be some projects that are designed to benefit the entire community, such as the development and implementation of government laws and ordinances. But very often, a project will be focused on a subset of the community, where it will be narrowed in scope. This would be the case where the group is identified by the community as a priority. For example, youth, elders, first responders, etc. Or when the scope of the project is too large to be addressed by an A&E project with limited time and funding. An example of this would be unemployment. When unemployment is identified as a community priority, then by narrowing the scope to, say, perhaps unemployed single parents, because that is where the community feels the project will have the most impact. Here's the terminology A&E uses for community groups. The community to be served is the geographical or organizational community that benefits from the project. An example could be your tribal community. Beneficiaries are the individuals within the community that benefit from the project. For example, youth, parents, youth workers, school administration. And target populations is a group that shares similar characteristics within the community that will be identified for the recruitment as project participants. For example, youth. How do you ensure community input? These methods that we're about to discuss on ensuring community input, they work well anytime, but especially during these COVID times. Before we begin, it is always important to consider your target population when deciding on a survey outreach strategy. Social media such as Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter can certainly boost response rate of youth to the adult demographic. However, what if you're seeking input from elders or live in a remote area without Wi-Fi? Typically, our elders aren't connected to social media and may not be comfortable with computers at all, as well as some adults. So you will have to develop alternative strategies to get their input. Elders prefer face-to-face interaction, but during COVID times, this is not the best option. Now is the time to be innovative in your outreach approach, or go old school with telephone or newsletter campaigns, which would work in areas with little or no internet connection. So the first option is surveys. As far as community input is concerned, surveys are usually the go-to platform and work especially well during the COVID-19 pandemic. They are also appropriate for community-wide or specific sectors outreach of the population. The pros of surveys are that they're quick, efficient, and they're an easy way to reach a large number of people. They also usually have a very low cost. So it's the great thing about using surveys, if you use something like SurveyMonkey or Google Forms, The cost is minimal, if anything, and once you can easily plug them into your social media by creating links that bring you right to the survey. And then once the responses are collected, it's very easy to sort those responses and use the data. It gives you really nice charts and pie charts and really lets you organize the data, and that's part of the package. The cons, however, is that there's always a potential for a low return rate, and it may not capture the whole group. And this is one of the things that you definitely want to avoid when you're writing up an application. Very often we see in applications where they tell us that they'd sent out, X number of surveys, maybe 500. And then they'll say that they didn't get a very good response. They may only have gotten 40. And that's unfortunate because it's not very representative of the community that they're trying to represent. So they really should have gone that extra step to get a better response rate, whether it's using incentives such as raffle prizes or some other type of incentive for filling out the form. The next option is focus groups. Focus groups are another option to gather community input, and these can be held on virtual meeting platforms such as Zoom or Google Meet. Focus groups work best if you're trying to consult community-wide, but tribal meetings or large groups and large gatherings aren't ideal. The benefit of a focus group is that participation is selective because you're choosing people that are representative of a certain sector of the population. So you'll have to find that right balance between being selective and objective. Remember, you want the community to feel represented, but the meeting won't be so open that it's difficult to manage with too many people. To make a focus group go smoother, I suggest recruiting the services of an experienced facilitator if you have a relatively large group to manage or have trouble keeping meetings on track. Facilitators can ensure that meetings stick to the agenda and that everyone has an equal opportunity to participate. This can be something that is within your community or not, and you may have to hire them, or you may even have the option of having a volunteer. So having a facilitator is a best practice for these types of meetings. Another suggestion we have is to have an agenda distributed before the meeting that can help prepare the participants and help them gather their thoughts on the subject to be discussed. This just saves time and increases the efficiency of the meeting. I also suggest recording and documenting the responses and the decisions. It's highly recommended. The reason is that the decisions made at this meeting can be applicable to other funding opportunities, and that could be used for several years. So the record or the decisions made with this group can be used for maybe the 3 or 5 more years at the most. And this saves time and energy of both the grant writers and the community members. So the next suggestion is community steering groups. These are an excellent way to ensure community consultation that can be carried through the implementation of the project. Much like a focus group, steering committee members would represent a cross-section of your target population and bring their voice to a decision-making process. Depending on the scope of your project, consider bringing in a nice balance of subject matter experts and community influencers so that you have both the technical expertise and the community knowledge at the table. For instance, an elders project might have elder representatives, healthcare reps, political leadership, social service delivery staff, and caregivers on their committee. When recruiting or appointing community members, it would be helpful to let them know that you're also seeking their networks for the purpose of community outreach for the project. Transparency is an important part of working within communities. Letting the public know who is part of the steering committee and how to reach them for concerns, questions, and feedback will go a long way towards garnering community support.